Oh, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast, where we're burning down the damn house so we can rebuild it. I have another amazing guest with us today. Jesse, how's it going today?
Oh man, today is fabulous, Mr. Ron. I'm happy to be sharing the stage with like energy. I appreciate your energy, brother.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I'm ready to rock and roll, but some of the construction champions out there might not know very much about you, but they might know everything about you. You never know. But I always like to give our guests an opportunity to tell us kind of, how you got to here and, what excites you right now.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So I began my career in the industry back in 95 as a plumber's apprentice. Dad's a plumber. So I entered construction on the trade partner side of the business. Spent about 20 years on that side of it, had multiple, apprenticeship, journeyman, foreman, all the different roles. Then I went to work for a general contractor for about 3.5 years. Then I went to work for an owner for about a year. And then now I'm running my own consulting business. So I started off with like high integrity and slid all the way down to now being a full-time consultant. I've also got the podcast Learnings and Missteps and the live stream that Jennifer Lacey and I do every other Saturday, No BS with Jen and Jess. And so, just like your podcast, it was something that was calling to me. I dipped my toe in, not really. I dove in head first. And it's interesting because that opened up all kinds of huge opportunities and was a part of the catalyst that led me to launching my company and doing the work that I do now. So it's been super amazing so far, and I'm always learning something new. And I hope you don't ask where I see myself in 3 to 5 years, because I have no damn idea. Um, Things have been amazing, and anything that I predicted 3 to 5 years ago was just a fraction of the immense joy and fulfillment that I'm experiencing today.
I love it. We're definitely not going to jump in to the next 3 to 5 years. What we're going to jump into right now and how guys can get some shit done today.
Boom.
So let's ask the $1 million question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
Ron, I think the what makes a construction champion is the courageous leaders that are prepared and willing to create an environment where their people thrive and make the work better for the men and women that are actually doing the damn work. And I say courageous, but they're also a little crazy because they'll go against the norm in terms of creating the culture and the connections and the relationships with everybody on site. And I'm sure you've been on a job site, and everybody in the trailer, they're cool with each other. And then like the foreman and field leadership, they're cool with each other. Then the installers, maybe not cool with every other trade, but there's these cascading tiers of groups, if you will. And the type of leaders I'm talking about, the champions, are the ones that understand and demonstrate appreciation for every single human being all the way throughout that job site.
Yeah, we can become very siloed
Yes.
as not just as an industry, but just as a company. It's easy to silo off the sales, the production, all the different, the two big ones, the sales and production. Those just, always, it's like get the UFC octagon out when we want to be trying to bring them together.
Yes,
But
totally.
so I 100% agree with what you're saying, because a champion is somebody that can level that field and get everybody talking to each other. So, I mean, how do we do that?
Man, it goes, it's as easy and difficult as taking my title off, going out and being like meeting people on purpose. And so what I mean by that is it's not checking in with the trade to see if their pre-task safety plan is filled out or if they're on schedule for today. It's meeting one of the installers and learning about them. What's their name? Why did they choose to work in this trade? Where are they from? Are they traveling? Because of the labor situation, we got people traveling all over the place for work. What's different about my job site than the one you did before? What's the coolest project you've ever been on? Like, learning these types of details, this type of information is what helps us build that connection. And I think, we got it a little twisted in that we feel like, okay, I'm the project manager, I'm the superintendent, I'm the foreman, I'm the executive, whatever, I'm the safety manager, safety professional. And I have this costume that I have to wear and I have to play this role. Yeah, you have some responsibilities, but you're still a dang human being. And investing that time to be interested and curious about the other men and women on site is where that connection begins. Now, that does take time. And because we're so out of practice and on both ends, right? We're so out of practice as managers and leaders on site that we don't really know how to interact with people unless it's like objective focused or punitive situation. So what ends up happening is the trades, the installers out there, we're not used to people talking to us unless our ass is in trouble. So when all of a sudden somebody comes and talks to me like I'm a human being, I'm like, wait a minute, what are you trying to do? What are you setting me up for? So there's this barrier of trust that I'll just say construction leaders are overdrawn, right? They have insufficient funds in the emotional bank account of the trade workers. And all we got to do is schedule some time, 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes a week. I mean, hell, if you just did 30 minutes a week to go meet somebody new, you'd be outperforming everybody else.
I love that analogy, that we're overdrawn with the trust with the people there. Because I was just trying to think like how to say what you just said, to put that in perspective, because it is, you do get that feeling. Say if you're a crew guy out there or labor or somebody on the job site, and then somebody's all of a sudden having an uncharacteristic conversation with you, you immediately start thinking, what's coming down the pipeline? What is he or she about to ask me to do that they know I do not want to do?
Exactly. Yes, like we're all living this thing.
I've been on both ends of it. I've been the
Yeah.
one doing the asking, and I've been the one getting asked.
Yes, sir.
So I definitely understand that. And I just love the analogy of that. We're overdrawn because if we look at, I forget the name of the book. There's a book that was written. If you just looked at every relationship as a piggy bank, in every interaction that you had, you were either making a deposit or you were making a withdrawal.
Yes.
And we have to understand we can't have relationships that we're always withdrawing from, but we also can't have relationships that we're always depositing in. So
correct. And as that relates to like construction champions, I think of champions and think of the greats, right? The world-class athletes out there. Not only do they outperform their peers, they make everybody around them better. And, I feel like there's this twisted expectation where people have high demands and but they're not making people better by their performance. They're forcing people to perform at a higher level, but they're not doing anything to make themselves better, right? And so that's the withdrawal element. And then on the other side, and I went through it, I think a lot of young leaders, especially now with the shift in culture and the focus on people and mental wellness, et cetera, we swing on the pendulum. And I did that too early in my career, from being aggressive and pushing and driving production to now all of a sudden being a big kitten on site and being super nice and pretty please, would you mind doing this? And like, you can overflow that account. Like there's gotta be, the whole idea of respect for people is, how can I serve you? One, and two, when you have a booger on your face, I'm going to tell you, meaning if you are not performing to the expectation or to the standard, I am going to let you know that your performance is unacceptable. And I'm going to provide you with the tools, resources, and information to meet the challenge. You get to decide whether you're going to do it or not. And so too soft and too hard ain't working, right? We got to get that balance, serve people, nurture people, and also develop our own capabilities so that we elevate the game of everybody around us. And I'm sure you've been around people like that, Ron, that just make you say, damn, I got to pick up my game. That's what we need in these construction champions.
Well, yeah, we all know the great people when we're around them, and I hate to use the terminology, but it's the only one that comes to mind is they can work a room. Like
Yes.
they can work a job site, like, and they understand what that ebb and flow looks like to be able to just show up, and they have a drastic impact on the morale, the work effort, everything around the job, everything that happens with the job. Somehow they just have the ability to show up and raise the ball all around without really doing a whole lot.
Right. It's their presence. And, I've worked with guys that way and women that I knew they never had to say it, but I knew they weren't going to tolerate any BS from me. And I also knew they were going to give me anything I needed to kick some butt. And like, you don't have to necessarily, like when you have that, or when we have that practice, people can sense it, but we also got to show it, right? We can't just talk about it. We have to demonstrate that care and commitment to the project and to the team so that people sense it. And then naturally, I get this question a lot and it drives me nuts. Like, Jesse, well, how do you get accountability? Like, it's this super complicated thing. It's super simple. If you want accountability, be accountable, period. Take ownership for your responsibilities, take ownership for your commitments, follow through, do the damn thing, be accountable, and then accountability happens around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the work has to be put in. I think a lot of times we don't think like it's just some magic or thing, or we use the term all too often, like he's just got it. Like, right. Just really, but we don't look at the reps that had to go in to get to the point where they have it. Like they just didn't magically wake up and be able to walk on the job site and change the entire job site. Like there was reps that went in.
Yes. Yes. Reps after rep after rep. I mean, speaking about reps, like communication, I think we forget that there's two parts to it, maybe three. Two that I know for sure. One we're really great at, especially, and you and I as podcast hosts, right? We're good at talking. We're good at delivering a message, but that's only one part. The other part is receiving information, receiving the message, which equates to listening. Like, how much time do we spend listening? And back to those game changers, the folks that have the greatest impact on others are the ones that spend the most time listening. You ever notice that?
Absolutely. It's about being able to listen and process.
Yes. Take in the information, understand where the person is coming from, understand what bugs them, what motivates them, and then give them what they need to go execute. Like, that's the way.
Yeah. What we're all too often. So I talk a lot about communication. It's kind of what I do now, but like we're too emotional. The fact is that not just as a construction industry, but as a human race, we are literally too emotional when it comes to communication. We take everything personal. We don't process any of it. And then next thing you know, we have this emotional response that's a bunch of bullshit that silos stuff out more and just creates more issues. If we just not just learned how to listen, but if we learned how to process the information as it came in and didn't just have, I just like say we get on a whim, like we get so pissed off because we think it's like a personal attack on us. Anytime anybody has anything to say, I'm just as guilty. We're guilty of doing it with everybody in our life, but like it's not a personal attack. Stuff just people inherently are not out personally attacking you. We just take it that way for some reason, and we need to stop. I need to stop.
Yeah. Now, part of that, Ron, is that we're human, right? That's evidence that we are human. That's not an excuse, it's a fact. And so it takes work, it takes reps. It also proves what my mom always tells me: the world does not revolve around you, Jesse. Right? Like, people are almost never doing things against me, they are doing things for themselves. The problem I have is when I hear something or pick up on tone or body language or a response or non-response, whatever it is, I fill all the blank space with my assumptions. And then my little feelers get hurt. And then I react. And then I degrade the relation, right? I create a big dang scenario. When if I would just ask, hey, Mr. Ron, what did you mean by that comment? So that you can clarify, so that I can kill my assumptions. All it takes is a few more seconds and a simple question, and me to detach myself from the situation and understand that we are both working in a common direction. But I have to pause and ask the question and eliminate all the assumptions. All the assumptions in my head have only ever gotten me in trouble. So I just got to double check that.
Especially out on a job site. You do not want to be having assumptions when you're building something. But that's how these interactions happen, whether they're happening coworker to coworker, a manager to an employee, customer or builder to a homeowner. Like,
absolutely,
we just let that stuff run, and then we create this narrative, like you said, and all we got to do is just breathe, process it, and then just ask.
100%.
Because
100%.
most of the time, what people are saying is not what they really want to say. It's just what they're saying, and you got to be able to get to that.
Correct. Absolutely. It takes work, man. It takes a lot of dang work, but the good ones, they're putting in the work.
Well, yeah, they put in the reps, and then that's like the questions. Yeah. You keep people talking. I always thought, like, the great conversationists I've been around, I always was like, they just asked really, really good questions. And then I was talking to somebody, and then it hit me. And I was like, it's not that they ask really good questions, it's they ask questions to be answered. Like,
yes,
they're asking questions for an answer. They're not just asking a question to try to keep the conversation flowing. They're asking questions that people want to answer, that they'll just spill their guts to. And it's amazing, like, to watch that. And it just takes reps to learn how to do that.
Absolutely. We've got a group of professionals, construction professionals, that are getting in the reps. It's kind of emotional bungee jumpers. A big part of that group is learning how to ask interested questions. And by interested questions, it's the curious questions about the human being that is in front of us. And part of the responsibilities that a lot of us have, and the pressures and schedules and budgets and all those other things that we get to deal with on the daily, kind of conditions us to always give answers, make statements. And when we do ask a question, I'm really just asking you to reply exactly what I want to hear. I'm not asking any interested questions. I don't really care about what you think. I want you to do what I want you to do. And so learning how to ask that interested question: where are you from? What is it that bugs you the most about this situation? How could I have communicated that in another way that would have been clearer for you? Like, all of those are very interested questions, because the response you give me is going to inform me on how to best serve you. However, when I'm under the gun and I'm under pressure, I'm going to ask, did you understand what I'm saying? Are you going to get it done when I said? Right? So there's this we need a venue to practice asking these questions. And so that's why we created the emotional bungee jumper, so that we can get that kind of practice and also get immediate feedback on how often we don't do that. It's a really dang hard skill to build.
Yeah, no, it is, especially like you said, when you're on deadlines, you have stuff that you have to ask. But I did, your question that you brought up earlier about like, what did you really like about the last job site you were on, or and what do you not like about this? Like that right there is like for the what they're just what didn't you like about the last job site? Like they want to talk about
Oh
that.
man.
They want to
Yes. And
tell you
nobody's
how
ever
bad
asked
it
them.
was.
Right. No one's ever asked them. So be ready. You'll ask that question, then floodgates are going to open.
Yeah, and you better be ready to take some notes and understand that, because when people do open up like that, then not that you're setting this expectation, but they are going to figure like you're going to take some of that with stride, and they're going to expect to see some changes. Like if
100%.
you're blatantly doing something that they found to be one of the worst things on their other job site, they're going to be looking to see like, I just laid all of this information out there. Is like he going to be proactive with any of this, or is he not? Did he just ask and then not even pay attention?
Oh, that's the worst. If you ain't going to take action, just keep your mouth shut.
Just
Right?
keep
If
doing
you
it how
ask
you're doing it.
and don't do anything about it, that's even worse. But you know, I think the value, people are going to start seeing the value, because there's a few leaders out there that I've been able to work with, and I see them doing transformational things. There's a labor problem. We all know that. Yes, we don't have enough people. But I know people out there right now that are creating a situation that the trades are thriving in. They're enjoying going to that job. They're choosing to stay on this job and travel another hour a day than go to the other dang job where they're going to get their head bit off and screamed at and yelled at all the time. And the leaders, the courageous leaders, the construction champions that actually demonstrate appreciation for the folks on their side, they're going to get a competitive advantage. Period. Since you've been on both sides of the business there, Ron, you've probably been in this conversation. I've been asked before, "Hey Jess, we're going after this project. We want to take it we want to be aggressive, and we're going to take the labor at a 0.85." And I say, "Okay, who's the GC?" They tell me the name. "Who's the project manager and superintendent?" And I say, "Okay, no, you need to double the labor on that, because them fools don't know how to get any kind of flow on the project, and they're going to cost us money."
Mm-hmm.
And I've done the inverse, like, "Oh, with that team, hell yeah, let's do it," because they know how to make things happen so that everybody wins. And so that was true 10, 15 years ago. I think it's even truer now. And the folks that, again, make a situation where people can show up, have a good time, kick some butt, get some work up, they're going to get what's the unofficial term? Preferred pricing, which is only going to eventually give them market share, period.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm glad. I'm excited that you said that, because I'm a big component on here. Is that like ever since I've been in the construction industry, there's been a labor shortage for one reason or another. I understand people are saying it's different this time. Well, it was different a decade ago. But one thing
Exactly.
I know to be true is that the people that have always been doing it right throughout the years always have more than enough people. And once you figure that out, once we figured that out, we were never at a labor shortage again. You just have not a revolving door, because it's not a revolving door, but you have a funnel of
Yes.
people wanting to come in and work with you, because you start to build that reputation. And I
Yes.
believe that is true today, just like it was true 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. If you build just like exactly what you're saying, you are going to not have a problem filling the seats. But it's up
No.
to you to build that. If you want to be like everybody else, you can feed right into the narrative that we have a labor shortage, nobody wants to work, and then wonder how the guy down the road is doing 3 times the amount of revenue and has more than enough employees.
Amen. Amen.
So, yeah, we agree on that right there because that, I don't have a lot of people that come on here that agree with that stance 100% just because, I mean, I could be wrong. I
Nah.
think I'm right because it's just, I've heard it for too long and I don't like, I know there's a bunch of other stuff in play, but like for years, there's always been something else that is what they say is the blame. We're very good at blaming the labor
Oh,
shortage or people not wanting to work on something other than the company or any of that. Like we're really good at that in the construction industry.
Ron, it's funny to me because I mean it's not funny, but it sucks. Like, yes, when I got into my first year of apprenticeship, I still wasn't sure that I was gonna be a plumber, right? And they showed a stat back then. It was like for every 4 plumbers that exited the industry in Texas, only one was replacing them. And I did that's simple math. I did Jesse math. I said, oh, that means I'm gonna be making a lot of money in 10 years. Done. So I decided like it was gonna be a lucrative decision, and it's proven to be true. But the issue, like to hear people say the problem is we don't have enough people, nobody wants to do the work. It's like you're blaming the person that doesn't exist, the person
Mm-hmm.
that has no name, the person that has no say, no influence, and no power to change it. We're blaming them. So we're abdicating our influence and our responsibility to the people with the least amount of influence and the least amount of responsibility. That's nuts. And Ron, you are correct. That is not the only problem. It is a part of the problem. Treat people right, you'll have a different outcome. The other part is a lot of the work that we're doing out there is just miserable. Like it's horrible, it's hard, it is disrespectful in terms of the burden that we put on the people out there doing the work. And ain't nobody evaluating the work, redesigning things, making small investments so that the work is easier for the person doing it. And if you do that, guess what? Productivity goes up. You don't need more people. You need to tinker around with the process and design it in such a way that it better serves the people doing the work. After you do that, then bring more people. Right now, it's like, you need more people, you need more people, and you need to hurry up, and you need to work overtime, and you need to release all your material. And all you're doing is compounding the wasted labor, the wasted manpower, the wasted effort by multiplying the number of people that are doing it the same old way without pausing, studying, evaluating, redesigning the work. You're going to have the same outcome. But you know what? Let's go ahead and keep blaming the people that ain't here. That'll fix it.
It is interesting sometimes. I mean, I just that's one thing that just kind of gets me whatever going these days. Because I think there's a lot of ways we can be a champion and challenging the status quo and eliminating what's always been is one way we can go ahead and be that champion. And when it comes to a
Yes.
people perspective, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. So
Amen.
Jesse, it has been fantastic having you on the show today.
Likewise, Ron. Thank you.
Why don't you tell all the champions out there, if they want to get a hold of you, they want to follow you, maybe listen to your podcast, you're live. How do they do that?
Thank you, Ron. So first off, champions, hit me up on the LinkedIn. I'm pretty hyperactive on LinkedIn. The Learnings and Missteps podcast. You can hear me do some interviews with awesome people. The No BS with Jen and Jess. We live stream every other Saturday. We got one coming up at 8 a.m. Central. We're on the YouTube and the LinkedIn as well. And also my website, depthbuilder.com, where there's links to all my social. I even mess around on You do anything on TikTok yet, Ron?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok.
Okay, I got to
I'm
come find you,
everywhere.
man. So, yeah, I got all over the place, but primarily LinkedIn, and the podcast if you're up for a little wacky energy. But if your listeners will be fine. They'll be able to handle it because you bring the energy.
Absolutely, man. I think everybody should listen to everybody's stuff and figure out what works the best.
Yes,
because
sir.
Ron Nussbaum isn't for everybody, Jesse isn't for everybody, but there is a person for you, and it's about going out and consuming the stuff that's put out there to figure out who that person is.
10-4.
All right, man. Well, once again, thank you for being on the show.
All right, my friend.
All right, construction champions, an end of another amazing episode. And I have to ask you, are you the guy? I mean, like, let's have an open conversation. Go look in the mirror. Well, you've seen, I can feel it. I've got chills when I think about what that guy looks like when he's on the job site and how, I mean, it's like an orchestra or I can't even say the word. I don't know why I'm going down that road, but it's just like somebody that is just directing traffic and everything flows through them seamlessly without any confusion. Guys walk up and we're asking them questions and vice versa. And there's this dialogue and there's an entire different productivity when that person's on the job site. Or are you the person that when you show up to a job site, all hell is either breaking loose or it will break loose because you showed up there? Those are the differences. Like, you got to think, like, what's it like when I show up at a job? Here's a good mirror question for everybody. Does my job site run better when I'm there or when I'm away from it? Ask yourself that, because if you're showing up and all hell's breaking loose, it's because you're bringing that hell with you, or the expectations of what you accept when you're on that job site is that hell. So, I mean, this is how we become that guy, is we have this conversation. So go home, look in the mirror, let's spend some time on this week and go be the champion you were meant to be. Hey, construction champions. It's your host, Ron Nussbaum here. And I want to talk to you about how you can automate all of your marketing. We've had so many people on here talk about getting the systems in place. Well, we have partnered with Build 12 and Construction Champions podcast. Les O'Hara, the founder, what really excites me is his 30 years in the industry. And now he's built a system to be able to nurture your leads and continue to utilize that. I personally use the system myself. Build 12 is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of value in there, and it's a way to start getting away from Angie's List and all of that kind of stuff and start actually creating your own leads every day and have a system for them. So go on our website, check out the show notes, go check out Build 12 and what it can do for the front end of your business today. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going and meeting with Les and his son, Devin, and talking to him about what they built for their own business so the rest of the industry can take benefit from that. Here on Construction Champions, we're all about helping each other out. And what is better than contractors helping contractors? I say nothing. So let's go take this to the next level. Go check out Build 12. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Les or his son, Devin. We're here to help. We want to continue to grow the industry.